Brian Windhorst has been talking New York Knicks conspiracies on his podcast, and we have to talk about it. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we are going to jump right into this video today because Brian Windhorst has been talking about conspiracy theories with the New York Knicks pertaining to the draft lottery, specifically Zion Williamson and the 2019 NBA draft. So let's just jump right into it, guys. What Windhorst had to say, and our favorite Twitter account, New York Basketball, highlights this. All lottery conspiracy theories died on the night the Knicks and the Lakers were in the Final Four, and Zion and Ja were in the lottery, but the Pelicans and the Grizzlies got picks number 1 and 2. Mark Spears then said, what about the Spurs getting number 1, obviously with the Wemby year? What Windy said is the NBA is not rigging one of the 3 smallest markets to get one of the top players, to which Spears said, come on, man. They made sure Victor went to the safest place. Windy said, come on, Spears, you're in the Hall of Fame. To what Spears said, I walked in the room in Chicago and said he's going to San Antonio. I don't know why we're wasting all of our time. Look, I'll be honest. I 100% thought that Wemby was going to end up on the Spurs. I was saying it all year to my college roommates prior that he was going to be a San Antonio Spur. It was just a match made in heaven. I don't know if the NBA rigged it. I don't know if it was perfect fate. But at the end of Pop's career, give him one more, true stud prospect like Tim Duncan to just really finish it off, mold him into a guy who can be the franchise player of the Spurs and one of the biggest faces in the NBA over the next 15 years and make the Spurs great once again. Most NBA fans are used to the San Antonio Spurs being one of the best teams in basketball. They haven't been around that long, and they've made the playoffs almost every single year that they have been. They went on a run making, I believe, 22 straight playoff appearances. Yeah, 22. They made it twice after Timmy retired with DeMar DeRozan. So that was 22 appearances straight before they started missing the playoffs, and then obviously they went into a one-year rebuild because they had DeJounte. They were kind of hanging on by a thread. They traded DeJounte for assets. They won the trade because DeJounte didn't really work out in Atlanta and still is not. They land Wemby. I almost bet on FanDuel, by the way, sponsor us, that the Spurs were going to get the number 1 overall pick because you can bet on the draft lottery in New York. I've never thought about betting on the draft lottery in my life. It's an absolute crapshoot, but I was about to do it because I was that sure the Spurs were going to get Wemby, and I was absolutely right, and it's a shame that I didn't. But really what we're talking about here is the New York Knicks and these lottery conspiracies, specifically when it pertains to Zion Williamson. Now, an article from 2020 in CBS Sports, when talking about the lottery and the 2019 NBA draft, said many conspiracy theorists expected New York to win the draft lottery, not only because the Knicks have the top odds, but also because they're a huge market and they'd be able to maximize the star power of Zion Williamson, one of the top prospects to come along in years. Instead, the Pelicans won it, so fans couldn't cry out foul and claim the league rigged the draft. If anything, fans might have raised their eyebrows at the large leap the Lakers made, but last year's draw didn't exactly stink of corruption. Now, the Lakers were able to jump into the top 4, meaning they'd get to keep their pick, and then used it in a trade to grab Anthony Davis. Now, we all knew Davis was leaving. We all knew it was almost certainly the Lakers. There was basically a 99% chance, with that other 1% being the Knicks, because the Pelicans really wanted to pair Zion and RJ together after they got the first pick. But we all knew it was the Lakers. We all knew LeBron was going to get his wish and get Anthony Davis on his team so they could contend for a championship that they would later win a year after getting Davis. The Lakers jumped into that. That was sus. And not only that, but the Lakers had to get a top 3 or 4 pick 2 years prior involving the Lonzo Ball draft. Lonzo, an LA native who went to UCLA. And Magic Johnson, then president of basketball operations for the team, said, we already know that we will be getting our draft pick. This was 2 days before that draft lottery. So clearly things have been a little fishy with the Los Angeles Lakers, especially since knowing that LeBron James could very well have been in play to become a Laker and then try to make the Lakers great and win them a championship after years and years of their worst dark age period in their franchise history. Little weird. And when it pertains to the New York Knicks, there is an argument, and I'm going to go out and say I do not think the draft lottery was rigged in 2019. I think things just went the way they went, and there's nothing you could really say about it outside of the fact that it sucked for the Knicks that they didn't get Zion. I mean, Zion, has been injury prone, but still, it would have been cool. I'm kind of happy they didn't. Things have worked out really well for us anyway. But still, at the time we all wanted them. We were all being told Zion, KD, and Kyrie were going to come to the Knicks. We got none of them. We ended up with RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. Who would have known that would have worked out better? Not me, not any of us. But look, there's an argument to say that it makes more sense to give I almost said the Zion's Pelican, to give the Pelicans Zion because they were losing AD. The last time they lost their single-star player in Chris Paul, there is a photo of Anthony Davis, the top prospect who was surefire the number 1 overall pick, same thing as Zion Williamson. This was exactly 7 years prior, wearing a New Orleans Hornets hat when taking a photo with some fan when he's sitting in a car. Now, is it weird he's wearing a New Orleans Hornets hat, the team that would later draft him? Of course not, except for the fact that it was 2 weeks prior to the NBA draft. Or the NBA draft lottery, excuse me. We knew. They knew. The NBA owned the Hornets because their owners went bankrupt. You're telling me that's not suspicious? No, it is, especially because the NBA owned the Hornets. They rigged the draft. The Hornets then Pelicans got Anthony Davis through rigging. I'm 100% certain of it. David Stern was still the commissioner. It was his final act to just truly make sure the NBA stays with some level of parity and that it still makes the amount of money that it makes. We know that's not the only draft that David Stern rigged because the one time we got the first overall pick when the odds were pretty much even, I believe, to get the draft back then. It was the first ever draft lottery. David Stern, I mean, there's a million YouTube videos on here. The best one is by Mike Korzemba. That David Stern, I mean, he digs in. All the envelopes get dropped in. One of them gets banged off the side of the little spinny wheel thing that they put all the envelopes in. That envelope was the Knicks. The corner was bent. There's a rumor that it was frozen so Stern could feel it. David Stern reaches in, flips over the envelopes, drops the bottom one, takes the Knicks one that was originally on the bottom, and opens it up to give the New York Knicks Patrick Ewing, one of the biggest, most hyped up prospects in history of basketball to this day, even though that was now 39 years ago. So it's just something to be aware of that the NBA has rigged the draft before. And it made sense that when losing their 1 star again, the Pelicans would get another one in Zion Williamson, as the Knicks could still get a top something pick, whether it was 2 or 3. I don't think they were planning on rigging it for Memphis. I think they just rigged number 1 if you had to say it was rigged, but it wasn't rigged. I think it was just luck of the draw. They all had a 14%. 3 teams had a 14% chance. The Pelicans, not one of them. They lucked into it, and that happens in the lottery. The Spurs, they lucked into it. Probably. Who knows? Maybe. I think so. I don't think Silver's rigging drafts, but you don't know. The argument against it is that the Cavs get the first overall pick all the time. The LeBron one, probably rigged. The Derrick Rose draft, probably rigged. But the Zion Williamson draft with the New York Knicks, probably not rigged. Now, the draft lottery has evolved over the years. Before 1985, the league used to decide the top overall pick by holding a competitive coin flip with the worst team in each conference. But the first lottery was held in 1985. Didn't take long for controversy to show up. As I already talked about, Ewing was the consensus coveted prize in the 85 draft class. He was pretty much guaranteed to be a superstar coming out of Georgetown. Absolutely was. Wouldn't it be nice if he went to a big market team like the Knicks to help boost the league's overall marketability? Pretty ideal. Again, that draft class was rigged. But if you look in 2019, this does not look like a rigged draft. I'm sorry, but the Knicks still would have gotten the first overall pick. It would have made more sense to put Zion on the Knicks and give a box office highlight reel star like John Morant to the Pelicans as a consolation prize. It just would have made more sense financially. Putting Zion on almost cursed, on a really bad Knicks team would have absolutely made the NBA more money than putting Zion on the Pelicans and just keeping another team afloat. They could have survived. They got Brandon Ingram. He was enough of a star that things would have worked out just fine for the Pelicans. They just would have been a not too marketable team in a not too marketable basketball city because the New Orleans is small and they care about the Saints more. The Knicks ended up with R.J. Barrett. And you know what? Things did not work out for them. If you look at the stats here, there is something very clear to notice. There's 2 NBA All-Stars who have both made the All-Star game 2 times, and then there is R.J. Barrett. Now, I love R.J. Barrett. I always will love R.J. Barrett for his time with the Knicks. But he is the worst player out of these 3, despite the fact that he is way more the most available player. Now, RJ's big problem was inconsistency over his New York Knicks career. He has gotten that together in the short time he has played with the Toronto Raptors so far, and I do hope it works out for RJ completely. I love RJ. I have nothing against him, and he did help the Knicks get better in more ways than one. Not just the trade, but the times in the playoffs. He had a great playoff performance in 2023. It all worked out just fine for the Knicks. Knicks end up getting Randall. He blossoms. I think most people in the NBA nowadays would say, like most fans would say, yeah, I'd rather have Julius Randle than Zion Williamson because Randall, and obviously it's a little ironic to say it right now, considering the Knicks-Pelicans game that will have happened last night when you see this video, is featuring Zion Williamson with an injured Julius Randle. But usually Randall's healthy. He's been basically a tank for the Knicks, and Zion Williamson has been not a tank for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's played in less than 200 games, and he got drafted in 2019. It was 4 years ago. He's in his 5th season. He missed an entire season, missed most of his rookie year. We know the deal. I think the Knicks got the better end of this. I don't think the Knicks got it rigged this year, but it is an interesting conspiracy for Windhorst to bring up, and I do think he's correct. The Knicks and the Lakers were in the top 2. It was such an easy chance to give Zion to one of the 2 biggest markets in basketball, and it's not like it was the Nets and the Clippers. It was the Knicks and the Lakers, 2 of the 3 most valuable franchises in basketball, the other being the Golden State Warriors, who are the most valuable. Shout out to Joe Lacob for absolutely being a wonderful businessman. It wasn't rigged, but it does leave a lot to be wondered about how the NBA draft is, and if the Knicks blow up, will they ever get it rigged for them again? Do you guys think so? Do you think the NBA draft is rigged? This is kind of a fun video. I mean, it's about the Knicks, but it's not really about the Knicks, and it was fun to make, because though I do love the New York Knicks, I love the NBA as a whole, love doing these videos. Let me know if you think the NBA would ever rig the draft for the Knicks again, if the Knicks get bad once again. Though we're not getting bad anytime soon, because we have number 11, Jalen Brunson. No one else is ever going to wear number 11 for the New York Knicks again, the same way that no one else should ever wear number 7 for the New York Knicks again. Have a great day, guys. Like and subscribe to the channel. It means the world to me. Shout out to the fan I met today. He was an awesome guy. Met him right outside of a Starbucks. Have a great day, guys. Go Knicks.